didn't even know who I was. I was saying, I think I'm allowed to come in here. But it's not, we're trying to stay.
Alistair has a comment.
Yes.
Finish your thought.
No. I'll be on my deathbed saying, okay, who's going to take it from here?
No, I just had a question about how collaboration, it's a little obvious, but I still want to ask it, how collaboration became or is, and is so much a part of the outrider tradition.
Well, community, friendship, wanting to pass the time and do something that's more interesting than maybe what ordinarily think do. You fall in love, and you fall in love with poetry. You fall in love with, something that you can make together. It's like being a child again, in a way. Mm-hmm. Magic being in some realm without that other kind of regulated space. And it's also different, and you learn, you listen to each other.
There's that Edward Denby title, In Public and Private.
Yeah.
My position is always collaborating with theater.
Right.
The poet kind of has to go out and
good.
seek it out.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more, sometimes requires a little bit more effort.
Yeah.
I remember there was also just another thing that was crossing my mind today was the idea of, like the performance of poetry, as you two were making that beautiful performance earlier with the sounds mixing. I was thinking of, just different debates. I remember this debate at the Poetry Project, and they took place mainly at the Poetry Project between one group, who is mainly spearhead. Anyway, it was about, the idea was like, should poetry has to be memorized, it has to be recited, and the other camp was like, no, that's authoritarian, poetry can be read in the. It was this really kind of vital debate, and I was thinking, well, they're both right, they're both in public and private, both those aspects, but poets often do have there's the solitary part, and then
the thing of the dividing of these
company.
things are even the term performance poetry is kind of irritating because it's always been going back way back, maybe getting both.
But there's also an interesting tension there in what you were saying, because maybe we need the performance, the communal, the connection, because it is a solitary act.
So yeah,
Memorization would be good for our brains.
Absolutely.
That's what Alan was so good at. He could just, lines would just spring forth, so embedded.
it was like the way I interpret Ezra Pound said, poetry, if it's any good, you can dance to it.
Are we allowed to say Ezra Pound's name?
Why not?
What I love about
Disco
those.
cantos.
What?
Disco cantos.
I can't imagine that.
What's that?
I think you'd be a clod.
Or snore.
I was just going to say, thinking of collaboration and also translation, what I love about the book you read from too is that both of those things are going on, the way those are so intertwined as a way of kind of continuing and, activating these networks that I think is so, and it is intimate. It's very, the way that text, as you were saying before, in collaboration, that sort of text collaboration is somehow more intimate. Same with translation, I feel like. That, and as more solitary or introverted poets, or however you fall on that spectrum, I think for me that's such an important way of keeping those connections, the conversation, and it extends your own work, your own thinking.
Our publisher also does most of that. Sister is here, is also a translator from Iran originally, and incredible infrastructure poet and activist and teacher, and I felt I was getting to know her online. We still haven't met, but there's Pominair Press.
They have totes now.
I know they're tote bags now, and they're a beautiful holiday card, gorgeous, from Hamed, who works for the press as well. But Gazelle was like a teacher. I was studying, through one of Sarah Riggs's, the Tamas project. Then we stayed connected, a smaller group of us, and she was, so instrumental in understanding more about Hafiz and other traditions and playing with the amulet tradition and so on. And then to have her take an interest in this text, and then Emma meeting her over there, again, the network continuing. And,
The translation itself is also a collaborative.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
absolutely.
done well, I think
Yeah.
usually it should be a collaborative
Right.
process, but yeah, it's, something that, and extending, I like what you said about extending conversation or extending parameters or
Mhm.
through the translation process, it then crosses a sort of boundary it was kind of inhibited by maybe, or reaches
Yeah.
a different.
Well, it just makes me think of what you said at the beginning too. It's starting to use your Catalan in your writing, and that like the way then the borders can kind of dissipate a little bit more. That, yeah.
there's also the sense of Odkin. That's a term Haraway uses, but and she's talking about how your family will include a cat and a plant, and maybe 3 humans,
Yeah.
and so on, and sort of you can go from languages. So Odkin, you don't want everything
Odkin?
just to
Odkin.
Odkin.
Okay.
O-D-D-K.
Yeah.
Well, shall we?
One more.
Is
I
it-
know, we're ready.
We can
is
continue
it
informally
possible
too.
What about a bibliography of all the books that have been associated with Europa and these scenes? I mean,
Are you giving me an assignment?
or
Did I
someone,
come here?
isn't there somebody under the age of 30 who would be like, it seems to me like that would be a great. That would
I
be a-
agree. I think it's good.
But you can't keep pace with all this. Well, I mean, you can't keep pace with the mobile, let alone what happened. But it seems like maybe at some point, if there was an academic or a aspiring academic would find that as an interesting project, and it could be so useful to many, many people as a.
Well, the library and the archive will help, but also
Yes.
there have been so many students who've done small projects.
Exactly.
There's a whole anthology coming out from students based on the archive, because this summer assignment is always that students work with the archive.
That's why I'm saying
themselves.
bibliography.
Yeah.
That might be a manageable,
Take it to
almost
Cambridge.
a manageable task.
Well, even at Naropa, when I was teaching at Naropa, I taught in activist poetics, I think it was called, but it was essentially a class of the different schools and
Oh, yeah.
lineages associated with Naropa. And just putting that syllabus together of like, Black Mountain poets, language school, new narrative, and
Black arts.
having that in the same and being able to hand that to students felt so like amazing. So there, I mean, it is going on. It's just how accessible is it? Who's doing it? Where is it?
Someone could maybe earn a PhD.
There's lots of them doing that.
We're planning our program in June, mid-June to whatever it is, early July. It's called Cri de Coeur.
There are flyers on the
There's a couple of
table.
flyers.
What's
Just,
gonna happen
our last Cri de Coeur. we're
Monday?
doing a
You have
play there.
you have an
You're doing
event
a-
Monday. Oh, yeah. Monday you have an event.
Yes, at the Seaport McNally Jackson. McNally Jackson is going to be everywhere in the world now. It's a bookstore that has some poetry.
What time is that?
7, I think. Does anybody know the Seaport store?
Yeah.
And do you know the address? 540?
It's actually, I think you Google it under South Street Seaport.
Oh, it sounds, okay, good. Yeah, I haven't been there yet. Yeah, we're doing something there with Edwin Torres, and we'll talk about the book.
And Elliot.
And Elliot. Wonderful.
Great. So everybody buy some books, meet somebody new, plan a collaboration.
That's right.
Write down, write
That's your
down.
assignment.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please make sure I have your email. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody.
From London for you.
I'm gonna end it, right? I can just do this. Okay. And now, that was great. Okay, I got it all. Share. Oh, it's still plugged in. Yeah. I'm just. As soon as I unplug it, it's gonna go out.
Oh, not
Taking attendance.